Oh my goodness. All right. Hello, you guys. Welcome to the Mother Day. Oh, I said Mother Daze. Mother? Should we go with that?
Sure.
Welcome to the Mother Daze podcast. I'm Teresa Palmer.
And
this
I'm
is
Sarah Wright Olsen.
Yay.
And we have my nipple. And we have
my nipple.
My nipple. We're gonna blur that out. It's gonna be blurred out. We're gonna cut me from here up.
My God.
And she's going number 2. Awesome.
So she looks like she's doing a little nipple tweak now as well.
It's thankfully she's just holding on to my Gap shirt
top
here.
Okay.
So. And we have baby Ocean here, who's always making her appearance and being adorable. Guys, we have an amazing guest on the podcast today. We are thrilled to welcome Lexi Montee Busch. Is that how you say your name? Did I say it right? Okay, great.
Busch.
Lexi Montee Busch, a mama, educator, a passionate advocate for new parents. She is part of the team at Happiest Baby, the company behind the revolutionary Snoo bassinet you guys have heard us talk about. And she's so dedicated to supporting families through their wild ride of parenthood. Lexi, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel like I'm eliciting all the things from Ocean. I'm like extra special guest over here.
Oh my gosh. I cannot stop staring. I'll be in the middle of saying something and then I'll see her and be like, oh, and I totally lose my train of thought because she's so cute.
She's so sweaty right now. It's really hot where I am right now. And she's just the back of her head is wet.
Oh my goodness. So I have been a long time user of the Snoo. It has, and it's so funny. I reckon I read your dad's book. It was the 5 S's.
Yeah.
And it was the all the ways to settle a baby. I actually read that
impactful.
book. Yeah. When I was pregnant with Bodhi. This was pre-Snoo days. And I was pregnant with Bodhi and I read this book and it was the 5 S's and the ways to settle the baby, and you turn the baby a certain way and you have them in their arm. And my husband became so good at that. That was his thing. He would scoop up the baby and he would be talking about all the different ways to soothe the baby. And it was like a Bible for us.
Mine too.
Yes. And this book sat in our room, and we were brand new parents. We had no idea what we were doing. And we read this book and I was like, oh my God, this works. This really, really works.
It's amazing. It's funny that you say that your husband, this is a thing. My dad likes to tell this joke. I don't think it aged very well, to be honest, but he's like, men aren't good at breastfeeding, but they're excellent at baby calming.
I love it.
And so whatever it is, we think it's the Adam's apple, the bass in their voice, whatever. Their shush is different. Their hands are maybe a little bigger. They might swaddle a little tighter. So for the 5 S's in particular, they're just really good at it. And I think also they're so excluded in some ways from our process that they get to have, something they can do. We've had, there was a celebrity who literally would do it as a party trick in public, on a plane, your baby's crying. Hey, let me pick up your baby in 5 S's. And it was so funny. But I think it really is an instruction manual kind of, because there's a lot of education, lactation consultants and conversation around feeding and, kind of figuring out a diaper change, but people don't really talk about crying or sleep. It's funny because they're 2 of the most important things in my opinion, but they're kind of left on the wayside. So we were happy to have that. And the book is actually what created Snoo, really, because it was 25. What year is it? 2025?
We're 25 now.
When the first book came out, that Happiest Baby on the Block with the 5 S's.
That's right.
Snoo was invented, I would say, about 11 and a half years ago. So it was really, how do we give parents the support? The 5 S's are great when you're awake and can stand up, but you also deserve to sit down and lie down and take a break for a second. So we were what can do the 5 S's for you? So 3 of them, right? The swaddling, the shushing, and the swinging. And then if you add a pacifier.
The noise was even the noise like would lull me to sleep too. That it would. I was like, and I remember like the ongoing joke in like our mother's group because I started using the Snoo with Forrest, my second born, but the ongoing joke, which I'm sure you've heard all the time, is like, where's the adult version of this?
I know. Everybody wants one. I actually, fun fact that people don't know probably is I asked our engineers like in the early days for kind of a marketing gimmick if they could build a big one so I could take it to like a show or a conference and have people get in it and try it. But then
oh my God,
by the time we scoped it out, it was going to cost like $150,000. So we
no.
yeah.
By the way,
car.
think about like how big that would have to be.
Yeah, like it's very high tech. So anyway, it was going to be impossible.
And then also like the spectrum of like how much people weigh, how high people, how tall people are. It's like it would have to be so sturdy and oh my gosh.
I just wanted to feel it for myself.
I know the amount of times I'm like, I just want someone to like rock me like that and I can have the movement and I would just go to sleep in a heartbeat.
Do you guys have a Snoopy? Because I'm like literally obsessed.
What is a Snoopy?
No, Snoopy?
I like stood up. I'm wearing like crazy. I don't even know what I'm wearing. This is a sound machine. It's our white noise machine, and it also has like a ready to wake, like a whole sleep training, a whole thing. But it has something called magic breathing, which is my dad teaching kids mindful breathing in 2 speeds. And so I wonder if I can. I just like pulled it out of the charger, but yeah. So okay, I'll double tap. So there's a light, and then you can like change the color. The kid can be a little in charge.
Oh, that's so good for diaper changes.
And then with the magic breathing, you follow the sound. So, and the tone, it's hard on a computer, but it gets lighter and darker.
Oh my gosh.
And like I teach a toddler to be calm and stuff. Anyway, it also has the Snoo sounds in here. So, Teresa, you could have perpetual
my
sounds.
Gosh, yes.
Babies and listen to the white noise.
I was just thinking, even like for my kids to fold, like my older kids to fold into like such a beautiful nighttime relaxation of like returning back to breath. And then also my kids currently have lava lamps in their room. But I'm like, oh, that's a really nice little night light as well.
Yeah.
It's so that's so
amazing.
special.
Yeah. So
How long does it stay on?
It's an all-night machine. I just love it because like years ago, before when all the other brands were only plug-in, we were the only one with a dock so that you could take it off the dock and like leave or go to the other room or go out. I take it on airplanes.
That's I remember having a teddy bear.
Love it.
That made noise, where with my first, and I would like put it because we co-sleep as well. And so I would like put it next to our bed, but it would turn off. It would turn off like 15 or 30 minutes.
I think it's 20 minutes. Yeah.
What are you talking about, the bear or something else?
There was a bear that I had.
Yeah, the bear has 30 or 60. You have to toggle it. But 30 or 60 minutes. But it listens for 3 hours. So if your baby... Like if it turns off in 60 minutes during nap and she cries, it'll turn back on.
Oh, I didn't have your brand. This was another bear back in 2014 that I had. But my qualm with it, I was like, it stopping like woke me up. I would be asleep. I'd fall asleep and then the sound would be gone and I would wake up.
Hard silence. Yeah.
Exactly. Because I went into this hard silence. Yeah. And it was, I don't know where I got that. It was a teddy bear. I don't know where I got it from.
Yeah.
It was so many years ago. And then what we did is we ended up switching to, and I still sleep with this exact song on. We switched to, it's called Chanting the Sacred Om, and it goes for 25 minutes. We have had it from 2014. Like the baby in utero right now, I put it on and it like move every time I put it on. It recognizes this music. So that's another one of our like sleep tools that we sleep with. So I'm so excited to try this.
But it's the same concept. It's like an om. Yeah. Like think about the way, not to be so like woo woo, but like, if you went to like a real yoga class, like it's not really om, it's oh, and then and the is so vibratory and bass, right? And so it's the same concept as white noise. It's rhythmic. It's low, it's rumbling, it's vibrating, and it's really calming, and it's kicking into, what my dad had written in the books as kind of an ancient calming reflex. Babies are born with, over 70 reflexes, and that's one of them. And it makes sense evolutionarily because, like, you needed the babies to kind of be a little calm and make it to the end to survive. So we're kind of, and all the other sounds you have in the womb. So especially that you've been playing the soundtrack for all the babies. Now you're perpetuating that amazing conditioning for them.
Well, it's so funny because so we co-sleep until usually like 2 or 3. And then because we have so many kids in our family, that youngest will then go and move into the bed of someone older. And we have only just now been like, guys, do you want to sleep in your own beds? And, all my kids have their own separate rooms. We will often wake up and be like, where's Forrest? Oh, okay, Forrest is down with Bodhi. Wait, where's Prairie? Okay, Prairie's in with Poet. And everyone's kind of playing musical beds. And it's actually like the sweetest thing ever. And sometimes we'll find a body next to us, like whichever. And it's so funny in the middle of the night, like trying to feel the size of the foot next to me. I'm like, which one is this? It's always the foot. Like, who is it? And now like Prairie and Poet, they're only 2 years apart. I'm like, I actually can't fully tell by the foot, like which one is this? But I have become so accustomed to my sleep routine. Like I have earplugs in, I sleep with my on. Like Mark and I can't sleep any other way now, which is so funny. But sleep is such an important thing. I wanted to share my experience with the Snoo because I've obviously been using it a really long time. And funny story, I recently posted like, yay, my Snoo's arrived. Like here, I've moved countries. I had a Snoo in America. I had a Snoo in the UK. When I was shooting A Discovery of Witches, that thing was so helpful because so many nights I was shooting. I was shooting through the night and my husband had the baby. So he would be utilizing the Snoo and then bottle feeding, and he loves it so much. But I posted about it like, yay, my Snoo's arrived here in Australia, like, and I had a friend of mine who's like a very crunchy mum, like me, by the way, like Sarah. Like I've been breastfeeding nonstop since 2014. I tandem breastfeed, I co-sleep, I'm vegan, I'm like all the things, right? She was like, I can't believe you use the Snoo. And I was like, whoa. And I think there's a real misconception because it totally has a place in this world that I like to parent in. And I use it in this really beautiful hybrid way, which is like you find your rhythm with the Snoo and how it folds in. It has only been a positive in our experience. And my babies like to go to sleep around 6:37. I'll put them in the Snoo. I'll put it on the first setting, which is just this really soft, gentle movement. And it has this really calming kind of noise to it. And then they will sleep for, I will get a massive stretch. I'll get like 7 hours straight. And this is just the way my babies sleep. My babies love being swaddled. I know not all babies love being swaddled. Mine love a swaddle. And then that I put my baby in there. I can tend to my other children. I can do the dishes. I can do whatever I need to do. And my baby's like in this safe little cocoon, sleeping in my room, ready for me to come in, go to sleep. And then my baby usually wakes up around like 2 or 3. They're all the same. And then I pull them into the bed and I finish the rest of the night co-sleeping. And so I've had this hybrid experience with it, which has been so beautiful. And I actually wanted to ask you about that experience and like, have you heard of other people doing sort of this hybrid? And what do you say to the people who are like, oh, that can cause like not being connected with your baby or, any of these like criticisms that come up? How do you respond to that?
I mean, I'm really happy you're asking because it's such a weird, first of all, like I would say our country, but you've been on 2 other continents and I guess it's the same everywhere, but it's such a funny time with social media and people feeling really empowered to judge your parenting at all. That's why.
Yes.
And so what's interesting is people in that era people like to put people in boxes. It's like basic psychology. And when you are super crunchy, Snood might not immediately fit into that box, which is funny to me because, so the founder and founder of Happiest Baby, inventor of Snoo, also pediatrician, happens to be my dad. My mom says we're green when green was just a color. It wasn't a movement. It wasn't a lifestyle. It wasn't a trend. In the 80s, we were super organic. So like people say, well, now I say, no, I'm 42 years old and I've been eating organic food since the 1980s. And when I was 15 in the 90s, flew to DC and lobbied against genetically modified foods. So for us, we've always been really big advocates of nature, of children's health, of environmental health. It's all related. That's why we choose to use things like steel and organic cotton and really high quality materials and not be full of, toxic kind of forever chemicals and other things. Snoo is sustainable and you've been able to use it for all those babies because it's built in that way. And then the irony is like, every parent has a different journey. I hear so many moms on the other side of the spectrum, especially in the US, because we have a really hard time with our maternity leave and family leave and work and other lack of family support. And so for me, like Snoo was right next to my bed, like touching my bed. And that's where
me too.
My space next to my kid, but in her own for me. And I see other families often in the US as really young. I mean, the AAP says, first year of life or at least 6 months sleep in the room. As early as the first couple of weeks, Snoo is in a nursery, like out of here. So you have the full spectrum. You have the total independent folks and the total co-sleeping folks and everybody in between. And there is room for that in everybody's journey. What's really important about it is it's not just about the safety, which is so important to us because I think you might be familiar, but the FDA granted us, I think 2 years ago now, what's called a de novo authorization. De novo is the first and only of its kind. It's a specific pathway for getting any kind of, clearance or approval. And that means we're the first and only product in America that's a medical device that keeps babies safely on their backs.
Wow.
A lot of countries believe that there are kind of safe practices for co-sleeping. You can't always ensure them, especially if you're not in the room. So to your point, if you need to go take care of your toddlers and make sure the dog or cat doesn't come in and like knock them over or roll them over, it's great to know that they're safe in their Snoo and you can put it right next to you. As a matter of fact,
it feels good.
Snoo, and sleep, which is critical for breastfeeding, for bonding, for postpartum depression. Sleep is a key, not to say like indicator, but it's a key component in the health of all of those things. And so actually some people might say, oh, well, it prevents you from, breastfeeding well, the more you sleep, actually, the more milk you can produce. I mean, if you're really sleeping deprived, that's one of the reasons that people can perhaps have some hardship with their supplies. So there's some really good benefits to bonding, especially when it comes to maternal mental health. And we're seeing now paternal over the last few years, we've seen evidence of dads with postpartum depression. So it's not just the hormones like they thought. It's the exhaustion and the stress and the pressure and so many big triggers. And those things all help facilitate a healthy environment so you can be granola and be crunchy and do whatever you want. We've had a lot of like the most granola crunchy people. And it's so interesting to me that others judge them because, everybody needs a little help and deserves a little support. And it's kind of just a spare set of hands.
And it's just so nice to know, like, okay, my baby is safe for this long stretch and they love it. Like that's how they sleep so well. And then I pull them in to bed with us and we sleep, our faces together, breathing each other in. And it was just so funny. I got this message and I was like, oh, are there misconceptions around this? Like, hang on a second. I'm like a full home birthing hippie mother who also really enjoys this. And Sarah and I talked about this the other day on the podcast where we also recently had some feedback and Sarah reposted it where someone's like, I love that there's space for everything. Like home birthing, hospital birthing, midwives, you guys talk about everything. And then they specifically said like co-sleeping and the snoo and this and that. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad that we can represent like the full spectrum of different experiences, because that's the way we like it. And that feels very inclusive. And so I did want to ask you about that, because I was like, I remember being like, huh? What? When I got that bit.
Right? Like, you don't get to pick, like, what's the saying? Make plans and God laughs, or whatever. Like,
yes.
you don't get to pick everything. And a lot of families choose to co-sleep. And I would also say a lot of families co-sleep because they don't have a choice, because their baby's really colicky and they're desperate and they're exhausted, and it's the only way they can get it in. And so, by having a tool, if you would like to have an alternative there by your bedside where they're safe, like, what an amazing thing to have you and the best, safest thing on the market, both there for you.
Well, I was going to say that my son Wyatt was born in 2013, and it would have been such an amazing tool for us, because I had a baby who, and I always say this because I'm like, I don't know if it was me or if it was him, but I walked like 5 miles a day during my pregnancy. And then when he was born, it was as if I needed to have him moving all the time. Like, he would get really fussy at witching hour, which none of my other babies have gotten that way, but it would get to like that 4 o'clock period and he would just cry continuously. Mm-hmm. And I would be on a bouncy ball for so long. And then I would put him in the carrier and I would be swaying with him. And then at night, I talked about this with my husband. I was like, gosh, do you remember when Wyatt was a baby, and like at nighttime, I would like feed him, change him, burp him, and then try to get him back to sleep. And I would be like bouncing on a bouncy ball for 2 hours. Like, I wouldn't sleep. I remember shooting a TV show at the same time that he was a baby. And one of my friends saw me and she was like, how are you doing? And I was like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like, I felt like I just hadn't slept in so long. And like, thinking back to that, the tools that I used were, the bouncy ball, the carrier, but I also used I had some sort of a swing, which they're not really supposed to sleep in. So I was kind of like awake watching him when he was in that, but at least I wasn't holding him in that moment. And then I had like another thing that like somebody gave me that was like moving,
the
in this way.
or whatever.
Yes. And then I would put him in that while I was like making food, and like he just always needed to move. And so other babies of mine have been different, but him specifically, he would have been the best candidate for Snoo. It would have been so awesome to like put him in that at nighttime and then like get some good solid sleep so that I could do the bouncy ball the rest of the night if I wanted to.
There was this badge of honor. It's, thank God these trends are sort of fading out, or there's only we can take, but there was like badge of honor, like, I haven't slept in XYZ amount of time.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And that happened in business a lot. And I really appreciated that Ariana Huffington talked about like burnout culture and how it's a badge of honor to be like a CEO, especially a woman, and be like, oh, like, I sleep 4 hours a night. And she was like, no, we're humans and we need a full 8 hours a night. We deserve that. And we have to give ourselves that, or we'll, collapse. And as moms, I think there's, especially I noticed, I don't know what your time was like, Teresa, in the UK, but in the UK, it's like the pressure to like grit and bear it, bite your lip, take it, be quiet. It's really hard. And that's in a country where they have midwife visits, where they have, or parental leave, they have more support. And in the US, it's mind boggling to me that like people don't like to talk about it, to the point where our customers tell us that, because it's like a really common question that people get, like, oh, how's the baby sleeping? And there's this commiseration that people share. So I've heard a lot of Snoo moms say like, we don't talk about it because we feel guilty and embarrassed that we sleep 10 hours a night and we're fine.
And also like, I love that you encourage, what did you call it? The traveling Snoo or something? I think that's
I didn't name it. I have to say our customer, our community named it, but I would hear so many people say like sisterhood of the traveling Snoo.
Traveling Snoo.
Because that's their friend and their, neighbor.
That's exactly what I did. And it got brought, because I was like, really, when I think about it, I went straight to full-time work. I was shooting like 60 hours a week, leading a show, shooting nights, then having to flip my body and get onto days and flip my body and go back to nights the following week. And the Snoo was so helpful for me during that. It was like season 2 of A Discovery of Witches. And I remember just thinking like, oh my gosh, this has been such a gift. And at the end of my season, the girl who was with me at work with my baby, my friend Kate, and she was taking care of the baby when I was on set, she fell pregnant. And I was like, here is this is the gift I'm giving you of sleep. Here is the Snoo
forever.
And she was like, huh? And then she then gifted it back to me the following season when I had another baby, because I can't stop having babies. And then I gifted it back to her for her second baby. And then she kept it. We then moved. I finished the show. We moved from the UK. And that Snoo has lived in so many homes, and it has been with so many mums and dads and held so many babies. And it makes me so happy to know that this Snoo's been going around to all these different people. So if you are someone who you do purchase the Snoo, or you're lucky enough to be gifted the Snoo, you can move it on to other members of your community. And that's a really beautiful thing. And I have that. I have the UK one in rotation. I don't know where they are anymore. I'd have no idea where they are. I don't know what family they're with.
Put some air tags on them just for fun and watch.
I watch, the little maps of where they're traveling. Yeah. I know I have one in the US, and I have one in America. And then I bought one for one of my best friends with her second kid. And so I think that's in South Australia somewhere. And now this one that I have in Byron Bay, I was like, oh my gosh, who am I going to pass this on to next?
And it's such a giveaway or something on your channel. Like you could feel like Oprah.
Yes.
Everybody gets a Snoo.
You get a Snoo. You get a Snoo. I know.
I love it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a really funny and amazing and delightful and a little bit complicated kind of topic for me. I have so many friends who are like, oh, we're the 9th or 10th or 11th family like using our Snoo, and that's amazing. And I love that. And it really speaks to the way that we designed and engineered it mindfully. We don't want to fill landfills with junk. It's not who we are as people. The same Snoo that you use at home and I've been sharing with your friends is the same Snoo that hospitals use 24/7. There is no other unit. Wow. Like it is the same Snoo. And I think that is just so amazing. And in return, we are a business, and it's been hard for us because everybody shares all their Snoos so much. And we do actually, I don't know if you know this, but we provide like free sleep consultations and all kinds of troubleshooting and engineering, and just to sustain like the app and the software and the cloud. Like it all kind of takes a lot of superpower. And people think of us, I think, because the brand is so big, as you mentioned, like, you've heard about it and it's a global phenomenon, but it's like me and my parents and like 20 people. It's a very small
gosh.
Wow. I love that.
That's amazing.
So it's been not easy for us. And that's why I think it's been fantastic. 2 things. One, that, at the end of the day, like we encourage people to share their Snoos, and we were able to create a model with our app now that, if you're the 10th family on a 6-year-old Snoo, like great, we're happy to help serve you. And if you choose to, no problem, you can have everything that you need for free. Especially after the fires here in Los Angeles where I live, our house burned down and we had 2 Snoos at home, one in your room and one in my room. So we could like take turns if anybody else needed to sleep. And my Snooze burned down. So they Ubered me one to our hotel from the office. And truly, when I say like a bad tech executive here, but like I didn't even bother to sync it to the app then again. I was like, whatever, like press the button. It works perfectly. I don't need
press the button.
But if you want extra bells and whistles, people can pay for the app.
Yes. I have had to do that for people. Like, here's the login. I ended up doing what you did. I think I had my login and then maybe I forgot my login and I just used the button.
Yeah.
And it's but I love that because you're making it accessible for people as well. Yeah. And I always feel like if you have the means and you can buy it, like you can buy it also knowing like you're being of service to other families who maybe don't have the means to get it. And I've been such an advocate of it because I love it. And I just feel it's just like one less thing to worry about. Like, is my baby safe? Am I going to come into the room, my baby's flipped over and like pulled something on top of them? You know, it's the thing that like all the what ifs that you worry about. And I think,
are you alive? Are you alive? Are you alive all the time?
are you breathing? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
like
all
what?
of it runs through your brain when they're this little. It's like
That's
so
right.
crazy, and like that's such a comforting thing for new parents to be able to like, you know, have that break where your brain is actually able to like shut down and really sleep. I mean, it's so hard when you know, even when you like put them in a crib, you're still like, are they okay? Are they okay? You know, it's like
And remember, like back in the day when you were a first time mom and you were like, here's the crib, here's the baby. Do you remember that, like the little buffer that the material,
bumper.
the bumper, that was a thing back then. And then then they're totally bad now. And it's like, it's so hard because things are always changing and you're like, am I doing the right thing? Is this safe? And I think that's the like beautiful gift you've given all these parents, is the gift of saying like, we got you. And look, we are now FDA, like we are completely backed up. We are so safe. Like we got you, one less thing to worry about in this wild journey where there's so much postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression. And I did want to ask you about, you know, anecdotally, like when you're talking to community members, you know, of the Snoo, how has this affected women with their postpartum journey and postpartum health? And, you know, could you offer up some insight into that?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I so appreciate that because it's, yes, about sleep and crying. And as a matter of fact, like all the marketing surveys always show that the messaging about sleep performs well and people don't really, you know, like to hear the messaging about safety, which is funny, especially because that's when you're pregnant. After you give birth, I'm sure you both agree, all of a sudden it's all about the safety because of those thoughts.
Yes.
And so those are called intrusive thoughts. So in my personal experience, for example, like I grew up in the era of, you know, Demi Moore on the cover of, was it Vanity Fair, I think, pregnant.
Yeah, with a belly. Yeah.
And Brooke Shields talking about baby blues for essentially the first time, right? So like I remember being cognizant of that conversation being taboo and such a big deal mentioned in media. First time ever. And so the way the media portrayed that from the decades since was baby blues, depressed, down, and quiet. And what I found personally and what we found, it's a lot of like anxiety. It's a lot of these intrusive thoughts. Like with my first, we lived in New York City. And so we had these really tall ceilings. And so we had a fridge that was like, you know, 10 feet tall and it was very heavy with custom panels on it. And the fridge door was open. I've told the story on one other podcast and like, I'm nobody, I'm not famous, I'm not a whatever. And it was like hundreds of thousands of views. And I didn't realize until I shared this embarrassing thought that I had of the refrigerator door open while I'm standing looking inside. And my daughter was just learning to crawl and crawled underneath it. And I thought, what if it just unhinges and slices her in half? Like that was a real thought. It wasn't like, this is really happening. And it wasn't this big anxiety. It's just all day, these fleeting, short, bad ideas. And so I shared that aloud in the comments section of just thousands of people sharing a car hitting the taxi, hitting it, dropping on their head, like any crazy thought that people had. And so there is so much anxiety to the point that both of you have made in this podcast. There's so much to worry about and you can't help it. You can't turn it off. It's like a faucet. They just come all day. And I'm behind. I'm only on 2 kids. I don't know if it gets worse with having so many kids and people to worry about with you guys, but
well, Sarah's been talking about her intrusive thoughts of like dropping the baby and things, you know, it happens.
And it's normal and people don't talk about it. So I thought, I don't have that. I'm not blue. I'm not quiet in the corner and like sobbing all the time. I'm like almost manic, just like planning and thinking and worrying all the time. So we've seen a lot of great feedback about the effects. And I think that goes back to sleep.
Yes, I think you're right.
It's just exhausting. Also crying. So Snoo with a lot of, as Sarah was saying about her secondborn was so
firstborn.
like some babies just are needing a lot more. And in needing a lot more, their way of communicating that is often crying. And the crying can be so hard. I do want to plug this part. In the first book, The Happiest Baby on the Block, because there's 3 of his books now, he talked about that sleep deprivation was a way that they train American Navy SEALs to withstand torture by sleep depriving them and then playing the soundtrack of a crying baby 24/7.
Oh my gosh.
Regular moms can take it, but the best Navy SEALs in America can barely withstand being the combination of exhausted and listening to crying. Crying can be really tough, grating on your nervous system and have that sensory overload. And so the crying is also a large part, and in fact, the biggest trigger, they say, of mental health issues postpartum and also child abuse. So the crying and the soothing crying is really important in Snoo. And then those 2 things we believe are why we're seeing really nice outcomes. Now that we're an FDA de novo authorized device, I can't really talk about it. We have to have like a medical type of person talk about it. But in theory, there's a study in your neck of the woods, still far away, but much closer, at Monash University in Australia, using Snoo as a non-medicinal intervention for postpartum depression. And if I'm not mistaken, I think some of the results are unbelievable, like equivalent to medication.
Wow.
So I don't want to get in trouble by the FDA. We like them.
Yes.
But you
that
can
is incredible
to see those types of things. And that's so promising. I mean, so many interesting opportunities to get women off of, these sort of antipsychosis drugs, blood pressure drugs, all kinds of interesting things, if we can get them sleep and less crying and more support. But I want to also actually mention this other point I wanted to make when we were talking about the traveling Snoo and the accessibility is, Australia is a bit different, but here in the US, your healthcare is provided to you via your employer most often. Some people purchase their own private insurance, but usually if you have a job, that's how you get insurance in the US. And so in addition to insurance, a lot of companies provide these benefits, and that happens globally. They're trying to get the best talent and they want to have cool like perks and benefits. And so they'll have, ping pong tables and free lunch and city bike, subscriptions. But we have 150-ish companies who are providing Snoo as an employee benefit. And for me,
kidding.
That's much more exciting than even sharing the Snoo, because everybody gets a brand new one for free from their company.
Wow, from their company?
Yeah. And that's great. And in fact,
do you have a list of those companies?
Yeah, there are a lot.
Online.
Snapchat, Under Armour, JP Morgan Chase Bank, Citibank, so many companies, big and small. Wow. And that's what's also really cool, because as you suggested, I think sometimes the reputation was kind of bougie, but this is factory workers. This is janitors. There's a company whose entire staff is a janitorial service. So folks whose job it is to clean, they get a Snoo for free from their employers.
Wow. That is incredible. And like you said, the gift that it gives parents, just having some sanity and some sleep and a break, and it's just like, what an incredible thing that you guys are doing. And I love that it started with this concept, like this book, which really changed Sarah and I's lives. It was aside from like my birthing books that I would read and my breastfeeding book, that was the only other book that I read, was your dad's book about like soothing. And you're right, you don't learn that in a birth class or before you have a baby. You suddenly just have this little thing that's squawking and crying, and you're trying so desperately to figure out like, how do I meet this need? And to your point, like all babies are so different, and you're like, oh yeah, my baby cries, I put them on the boob, they're fine. Not all babies like that. Yeah. I've had friends who have had babies that scream and scream and scream for hours, and they're like, I can't do it.
I know.
It's so hard.
I was thinking about that when you're talking about just the mental health aspect and how much that will and is benefiting so many people, but for sure, like I've always been someone with major intrusive thoughts, and I have them every day. Like sometimes I'll shudder, and somebody will be next to me, and my husband, he'll be like, what just happened? And I'm like, oh, I saw this car like swerving over and hitting, the kid. And it's not always even about your baby. It's about your bigger kids too, so that I'm just like, and then, I have the baby and then the carrier and then, or like in the stroller and then somebody hitting that. And like, I just saw it on a flash. And so it hits you, it puts your body into this like system. But if you're tired, if you're not being able to take care of yourself as much, like it just makes it 1,000 times worse. Everything is harder when you're tired. And that is the
My mom
absolute.
always had this, it annoyed me, especially when I was like a teenager with the oxygen mask analogy from the
Yes.
put your oxygen mask on first. I remember being a kid and thinking that's so weird and selfish. Like moms should help us, like I was a kid. Right. And then
Yeah.
I remember having that on the plane thought. And then years later, when I was probably a teenager and she started talking about how it's really important to do that, because I think, a lot of kids are helpers and like our natural caregivers.
Yes.
Like I was a giver and my mom had to try to teach me to take care of myself. I'm still not that good at it. And I remember first hearing that and thinking it sounded selfish and weird. And only now, more in adulthood, do I realize that it's actually still about the other, because you can't take care of the other unless you're
100%.
Okay. That's so true.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask you, because this is a question that has come up when we've talked about this Snoo in the past. And I'd love to hear from you. There's a certain limit when you aren't using the Snoo anymore, And so when you transition out of the Snoo, like how do you what would you suggest for parents as they're transitioning out of the Snoo and into a crib or, whatever their safe sleeping choice is? Is there a way to help them? Is there a way to help them through the app, or do you guys,
So it's
you know
like
what I mean?
there's a transition program.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, every baby is different. It's so funny. Like you're experiencing that firsthand. I just had a second and we just got out of Snoo like a month ago. And she was
And
completely
how old was she?
8 months now. She was like, at the end of her 6 months.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think first of all, I had great luck because I kept both my kids in for the full 6 months. I think a lot of people feel this like urgency. Like it's funny. We're sprinting toward the milestones and then we're just like adults forever. Like let them be kids. So you don't need to like, sleep train your baby by 3 months and like,
No.
who cares? So for me, Snoo is designed for the first 6 months of life. I'm using it for the whole 6 months. So I think some parents who might be eager to get out at 3 or 4 months, they're going to have a harder time because that's quite the time when babies do wake up a little more and they might be having some sleep regressions or teething or hard times. So one thing to do is use it for its whole duration, because for whatever reason, they innately outgrow some of those sensory inputs. And earlier at the call, Teresa said something like, I need all my sleep things. I have my earplugs and my own music and all the things. But what? We're afraid for our children to have a crutch. Like it's a bad thing. Like I like down comforters and I like firm pillows and I like sleep on my like we all have sleep cues and comforts and crutches. So do babies. And, they luckily outgrow some of those needs. And so naturally at 6 months, your baby outgrows the need for motion so much. So like, maybe for Sarah, being on the bouncer and with the carrier 24/7 maybe calmed down around 6 months or so. Right. So that's already. So the first step is like use it as long as possible. They will outgrow it organically. For me, I had a whole like perfect system that I loved that I used for my first, and I recommended it a lot to other people. And we had a great time. It's give yourself a couple days and use the weaning feature. So you turn it essentially so it's on. The white noise is always playing, but the motion is still. And the motion turns back on automatically when they cry, just like any other level up, but it's still. And then the other thing for me was it was fascinating how even in Snoo, the anxiety I had of moving. So most families move to the crib or to some other sleep situation when they transition out of Snoo. But that means they're not just leaving Snoo, they're leaving the same room as you. And so that was like a big change. I was very emotional. I had a really hard time like putting her in another room. I was sad and scared both. And so I never had a monitor because she was in my room. And then when we moved her, my older daughter at 6 months, was the first time I plugged in the camera. so I could see in that room, but I didn't go straight to the crib. So my other tip is take the whole Snoo to the nursery, get them used to that room, the smell, the wallpaper, whatever it might look like, but that they're still in their same sleep environment. So you have some consistency and the change is more gradual.
Like a gradual transition. Yeah.
And then the third night, this is like psychotic, but I swear it's what worked so well. The third night, she finally went from her Snoo. Like the first night was turning on the weaning. The second night, or the first night was putting her in the nursery, but with the motion. Second night was, okay, turn the motion off. Third night was put her in the crib, but I kept the Snoo plugged in with a sack in it and it turned on.
Yeah.
And I had it pressed up against the crib. So when she cried, it would still level up.
Oh my gosh, what a good idea.
Do you know what I mean? So it's next to her. So if she cries, it still goes to those.
She recognizes.
This is like the level 4 demon sound, like the crazy sound.
Yeah.
So it was great because if she cried a lot, even though she wasn't in Snoo, it being pressed up next to the crib, it leveled up. So that was my weird hot tip. And in 3 days, she was sleeping 12 hours in her crib.
What?
This baby was different. She didn't like level 4 sound. My first daughter needed like maximum volume, maximum motion.
Yes.
And that level 4. So I would like hack her. I would put Snoo on the low baseline level, but I would take the Snoobie and I would play the crazy sound to like trick her until she
that's so funny.
and turn it off. Or I would use the Snoo Bear, which has my dad literally shushing. So for us, it's literally grandpa's voice that I think she recognized. But I would have the Snoo Bear in there doing shh, shh. And so I could leave the room and she would think I was in the room shushing her.
Oh my gosh.
So that was great. And then with the second kid, she didn't really like higher levels. She wanted to be lower levels and quieter. And my first baby, the very first time in the crib, she went face plant, face down, and I didn't sleep for 3 days. I was like, we're going to die. You can't breathe. Are you alive?
Oh my God. Yes.
Never rolled over. She sleeps on her side. So, same DNA, same everything, different experiences.
Wow.
Different baby.
Both times it was about 3 days until it was a full transition. And I took these gradual steps. But there's a ton of tips and things online. There's communities. There's like whole Facebook groups that are like,
I've seen them.
Like,
it's amazing.
But yeah, I found it really easy and different for both kids with different needs. But I was just kind of focusing on the gradual and giving yourself grace. That's the part I'm worst at. Like, I don't know how to give myself forgiveness. My dad wrote in that book that one of his best pieces of parenting advice for young or new parents is be flexible or die. And I'm like the least flexible person ever. So
you're like, Dad, help.
Well,
where do I find this flexibility?
That's the other special thing about your guys's company is the community aspect. I mean, that's a huge thing in parenthood anyway, is like, you find yourself in this way and maybe like you're the first of your friends to have a baby. And so having that community that connects you to other parents, that connects you to other mothers that are doing similar things to you, you can jump in and say, hey, I tried this. Did this work for you? What is that? What do you dress them in? What do you like? When do you start weaning? Like whatever it is. And so I love that part of your guys' company is just being able to like be in community and find your people and then go like, oh, this worked for me or this didn't. Or,
different kinds of people to your earlier point. There's the crunchy people and there's the very like non-crunchy commercial people and there's the left brainers and the right brainers and there's all kinds of different families. And
there's room for everyone.
Room for everyone, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love. And before we let you go, can I just say that I watched your TED Talk?
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Stop.
Wait, why?
What? Why?
With your husband. That is unbelievable. I thought it was so sweet.
Let me tell you, we had this idea. So TED proper, like large TED, is actually pretty involved in some of the TEDx opportunities. And he's given like 12 of these talks and he's giving a global one in October on a variety of topics. But his main point of work is serendipity. He's a professor. He was at the London School of Economics and NYU, and now he's here in LA at USC. And so even though he's at a business school, he teaches serendipity, so how to create your own luck. And our love story is very rooted in that. But we had the idea a few weeks ago, and not ago, but prior to that talk. And I didn't know this as like a naive layperson who just like clicked on Brene Brown's speech 10 years ago or whatever.
Yes.
People prepare. There are many, many best-selling books on preparing and writing your talk. They prepare for 9+ months. That's the time frame.
Oh, wow.
Put ours together in 3 weeks, and we practiced it for like 3 days. And I was outside trying to memorize it. I had a baby. Like I was on a huge tour of like speaking at startup and executive like business. I had like a talk in Amsterdam. I was flying. I had Lola everywhere. She was like, I don't know, 9 months old. And I was outside trying to remember, because we can riff and speak our truth. That's easy.
Yeah.
But when you have to share the stage, you have to remember like the cue so that you can know
That's
when
right.
it's your turn. And you have to stay on script because TED is really strict about, 17 minutes or whatever their timeline is.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than just chatting, which could go forever, you have to keep it tight. And so I was outside trying to remember my lines, couldn't remember anything. And then for whatever reason, I don't know, this is like so not me, I just started weeping, like hysterically sobbing.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, I don't know my lines. I'm going to fuck this up. There's a theater full of people and Christian's like such a professional. And we're fucked. I don't know anything that I'm saying. And I'm sobbing and I don't have any makeup on. And I'm not kidding, exactly 60 seconds before it starts.
No.
Excuse me. No, I'm dying.
Curling my hair with the curling iron while I'm wiping my tears and applying my mascara in the mirror. And then they call our name. It was no more than 60 seconds. And I just went like this, turned around, walked onto the stage. I could hear it like in the recording on my voice. And like, I don't know what happened. It just came out of me. So,
Oh my gosh.
Because I was like, wait, there's no way.
I was mortified.
I was like, she's a professional public speaker. I was like, this is someone who's a professional. Because the idea of doing a TED Talk is like literally I would prefer to walk over hot coals. Like the idea of getting up and talking in front of everyone like that in that kind of environment, like I was watching it being like, oh, these are the sorts of people that can do this. Like you guys
you're so kind. I can't wait to tell my husband when we hang up.
I was like, and it's so beautiful, and the love story and the like writing out what you want from a relationship. And then you guys like figured out that maybe there's a spark there and you both want the same things. And I was like, what a love story. This is so beautiful.
Raging passion, weird love. That's You never say never. I'll give everybody the 30-second, elevator pitch version. It was early COVID, so not that long ago.
Yes.
My husband had a packed bag on his shoulder. I was sitting on the sofa scrolling Instagram, and I look up because he's standing in front of me with his bag that I hadn't seen. It was like secretly packed, I guess. And he goes, I want a divorce. And I was like, what? That was it. That's early COVID. And now I'm married to the best human being ever born and have 2 children. And that's
wow. How
so the worst
incredible
thing that ever happened to you in your life. I was like dead on the floor, weeping, not sleeping, anxious, intrusive thoughts. I was also 36 and never had kids, and I wanted kids, and I work at a baby company. And I was just like, this is it. My life is over. I'm never going to have a family.
That's insane.
It was May 31st. So, the very, very beginning, the first night of big social justice protests in New York. A car crashed into my building that night and went on fire. Like, I was just like in shock. I couldn't believe anything. And I was like, I'm not allowed to go outside. I'm alone in New York City.
Everything's falling down around you.
Everybody was dying. New York during COVID was very scary, especially early time. And I was like, how am I supposed to go outside, meet people? They have to like me back, court each other, get engaged, get married, have babies. This is over. It's not happening for me.
Oh,
and then
no.
You never know.
What an inspiring story for people.
Yeah, wow.
Can't believe
that's
you watched
amazing.
that, Teresa. I'm like sweating.
I watched it and I thought it was the cutest thing in the entire world. And I was like, you guys are amazing. And they're both like full professionals. That's what I kept thinking. I was like,
well, we're so grateful for people like you and for sharing important stories. And listen, before you guys, there really wasn't a motherhood parenting podcast. There really wasn't. There was one that was popular here in the US, and one of the people was a little bit more visible and kind of, I don't know if there was a cancel moment, but that disintegrated, and that was the only other one, and you're all we have. So thank you for and thank you for really, you know, normalizing saying things out loud, for breastfeeding on camera, for
Yes.
and it's, I just can't tell you how much it is like so refreshing and so helpful. Thank you for sharing your truths and your intrusive thoughts and all. Really inspiring and helpful, and we're so grateful.
Thank you to you and your dad and his beautiful company for empowering women and for helping people. It's like, it must be such a fulfilling thing. And
I joke that now as a marketer, like I can never work again. Like I'm saving lives on a daily basis. I go to sleep and I'm trying to save people from babies from SIDS, moms from postpartum. You know, we hear stories that are just terrible of moms who are struggling so much that they take not only their own lives, but also the child life.
Yes, I hear that.
These people need help so badly. And so I'm trying so hard we're trying to save the world and change the world. And it's, and now I'm like,
and you're doing it.
Candles and fashion, forget it. This is it.
I love it. What like remarkable, meaningful work. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. You guys have been listening to the Mother Daze. Mother, I said it again. Should we change the title to Mother Daze?
It's Mother.
The Mother Daze.
Pig, what's going on?
I'm like, what is Mother? The Mother Daze podcast. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, what accent is that?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lexi. Thank you, the Daisies. Bye, guys.
Bye.